So this is not exactly a hardball show, but I'm going to throw you a curveball on this one. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. Throw
Okay.
it.
And I'm only doing this because you got a million years of experience and you're wearing a super sweet polo shirt. So I
Thank
figured
you.
if anybody can handle it, you can handle it.
I didn't
Are you
know to
ready?
go long sleeve or short sleeve, but I figured it's summer. Why
Listen,
not?
if I had the muscles, I'd go short sleeve all the time. I'd be
Thank
like,
you, sir.
oh, okay. Welcome to Beyond the Baseboards. We're here with Shawn Rogers. He is an unbelievable agent, team leader, been in the business for a very long time. He's also sneaky funny, as I think you'll find out in a few minutes. And we're here to talk about relocation. So as we know, there's a big migrancy coming from. I'm not trying to be political. I'm saying, like, in California, people are moving to here and here from all over the country. And what's going on with that? Why do you think people are moving to Arizona?
Well, Eric, and first off, thank you very much for having me on your show. And to answer that question, the best of my ability, I think it's probably the perfect storm of, I won't dive into maybe a political end of it. We'll put that over there. But I think home prices, when they're rising across the board, when it's a higher percentage or a percentage are rising on a same level, maybe everybody stays where they are. But moving forward, if it's a property, let's use California, that goes up 20% increase on $1 million is different than 20% increase here. So I think a lot of people are seeing the advantage of perhaps cashing out where they are and moving somewhere where they can get more bang for the buck.
So you do a lot of listings.
We do.
You can see the trends in terms of like hot areas, low areas. Where's the hot area right now? Is there one, or are they all in Arizona, or are they all the same?
Basically, they're the same. There are going to be pockets within the continental United States. They're always, I don't want to say it the wrong way, but just won't keep up. Jobs, lower jobs, even though that doesn't seem to be the case now. And then taxes, weather, a lot falls into that. But I'd say 75% of the country on that number is experiencing interest rates are low. You're one of the best lenders out there. So, interest rates are low. That's hovering equal, but housing isn't appreciating equally across all of the states. And the ones that are obviously going into what we would call a seller's market, and the ones that aren't, well, that's, I guess, answering your question.
I was thinking that, like, I've always said that Arizona is special, like Florida. There are two states where people want to live and they also want to retire.
Correct.
Right? Do you see a lot of retirement moving? And in your experience, like, what's the mega draw other than the stuff that's happening right now in the market? What's the mega draw for Arizona?
And I'll say that, and I think it's two words, unless there's a hyphen, Eric: low maintenance. And I say that because a lot of people that have worked I say their lives from, a younger age up to about retirement age, wherever that might be, but they'd like to enjoy a lot less maintenance, meaning it's, and I'm trying to put this in the easiest terms, not worrying about shoveling snow, not worrying about flooding basements, not worrying about cutting yards or lawns or landscaping. Out here, the houses really are, I like to use this term, bulletproof, or more bulletproof than most of the country. And I think when people are done with that lifestyle, they just want to, for lack of a better word, kick back at the pool.
Mm-hmm. Kick back at the pool and just kind of relax. It's kind of and that makes sense because it's also a vacation destination, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of funny you should say that. And I always kind of joke around. I'm originally from upstate New York, and when I came out here, this was a place to vacation. I never really so much thought of it as a place to, like you said, retire or live. It was just like mid, and I'll never put down my hometown, but midwinter somewhere when you just have to get away from that, and you come out here, it usually doesn't dawn on somebody, why don't I just move to Arizona or somewhere where this is every single day paradise? And well, I guess I did. So
except the summers where it can get a little hot.
This is true. But Eric, and sticking on the relocation idea or topic, You adjust to pretty much anything. I mean, I don't weather as well. Yep, it's hot in the summer, but unless you're out there maybe thatching roofs or paving driveways, you learn to adapt and when to go in and out. Just like back in New York, you learn you probably don't want to be out there in your shorts in mid-January.
What's your favorite neighborhood in Arizona or favorite city? Do you have a favorite city?
And I say this and then it falls back to, because you live there. But I know and I'll say quick plug for the Mr. Rogers Homes team, we cover the East Valley, West Valley, and Central Phoenix. So in that realm, Erik, I don't really have a proverbial dog in the fight. However, I like the East Valley and dialing it into a city. I happen to live in Gilbert and love Gilbert, but there are so many beautiful places within Arizona, the Valley of the Sun, that are just, breathtaking. Just Gilbert fit best for me. If I was maybe younger and single, it might have been downtown Scottsdale, perhaps.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to raise horses, maybe, beautiful Gold Canyon or Apache Junction. I guess much like a client, we always want to fit best house for best lifestyle. And for me and my wife, Gilbert just fits best for us right now.
So how long have you been in real estate?
In and around real estate since I've been 17. I always joke and say my mom probably dragged me around in my diapers to help with this and that in the realm of real estate. But I think officially 17 or 18, and I just turned 53. So
okay, so in that time you've seen a lot of changes.
Yes, sir. The ebbs and flows of real estate.
So how does this market, like right now? And, I want people to be able to see this and learn something from it at all times. But like right now, the market is in this like sort of position where it looks very much like a previous market that many of us remember in 2007 and 8. You've seen the cycle before, during, and after, and then the new cycle. You've seen a lot of cycles. How does this time in the real estate market look compared to previous times that we've had ups and downs?
Great question, Erik. And I won't go back to like the mid 80s where we were doing, I kind of dealt with Miami and whatnot.
80s are great. Let's go from the 80s.
A lot of great music in the 80s and 90s.
Great music.
As well as real estate. Yes,
finally, but somebody with some style on this show.
Exactly, Erik. But to go specifically back to that 5, 6, 7, and 8, or 2005, 6, 7, and 8, I don't see the exact correlation. And again, I don't pick on anybody in particular or anything in particular. But then it just seemed that there was a mad rush to gobble up things that maybe didn't have a strong enough roots. And what I mean by that is a lot of people, I think, and again, I'm not a top lender like you are. I just see it from the point of view of age of real estate, and a lot of people were getting into houses with perhaps, I don't want to say it the wrong way, with maybe payments that
you think it was the bad mortgages.
Yeah, I hedged to say it that way, but that's what I now flip coin, and not to dive on that, but moving forward, there's 200 to 250 people a day moving here to Arizona. Jobs are great, taxes are great, interest rates are great. But what I see that's different, although those are the housing shortage equal to then till now, I see most of the lenders or mortgage companies, there's more skin in the game for the buyers, and not, even though people are getting qualified, in my humble opinion, they need to be definitely well qualified where there's no, smoke and mirrors, if that's a way to term it.
So this is not exactly a hardball show, but I'm going to throw you a curveball on this one. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It.
And I'm only doing this because you got 1,000,000 years of experience and you're wearing a super sweet polo shirt. So I figured if anybody can handle it, you can handle it.
I didn't know to go long sleeve or short sleeve, but I figured it's summer. Why not?
If I had the muscles, I'd go short sleeve all the time. I'd be like, oh, okay. So here's my curveball question for you.
Okay.
Here it is. This is going to be a tough one.
Should I get my bat?
This is not a normal question where it's like, oh, hey, Shawn, what do you like? Corn or cabbage? Nope. You be ready for this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Get the drink going. I'm gonna get mine too. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Throw it.
Bad mortgages in 2007 caused the collapse because people stopped paying, right? So the bad mortgages in themselves were sort of the precursor to the real problem. Maybe they were the symptom, maybe they were the cause of the symptom, but the ultimate thing that tanked the market in 2007 was mortgage defaults, not the loans. It was the defaults.
Correct.
Here's the question. Current default rates, current people that are behind, seriously delinquent on their mortgage, is almost the same amount now as it was in 2007. But there's another additional amount that's not being counted by mortgage forbearance. So my question is, can this market sustain a default rate 2.5 times larger than what caused the collapse of the market in 2008?
Whew, that's definitely a beautiful question, and it came at me. It was a mixture of a fastball and a curveball.
I did warn you.
No, you
did warn you.
And
you took juice. You took juice on it,
I did.
which was appropriate because the question was juice too.
It was It was a beautiful question, and Erik, jokingly, but yet seriously, not having a crystal ball or magic wand, and I'm not trying to back out of the answer.
You are.
No, here's my answer. I don't know that it can continue the way it is, but so I'll say this. I think that from what I see, in my professional opinion, we're going to be okay. If a wave happens as it did before, that is going to be unfortunate. And I say this again with all due respect, it'll be unfortunate for some parties, fortunate for others. Again, going back to the ebbs and flows of real estate, but I'm not 100% sure it's the exact, by the numbers, and I take your word for it, by the, the forbearances and whatnot, those numbers can be equal. I just think it's a different time than it was then.
So follow up to that. Let's say that you're a buyer, and let's say that we're going to see something, right? And you're a buyer and you're up here. How do you make the transition? What should you be thinking about if you're a buyer? Should you be worried about buying at the top of the market? Is it really a concern in the big picture? Or is it something that they should stop and say, I'm not going to do this? What should a buyer be thinking right now?
Great question. And that's, a question that buyers, obviously you've done your homework, because that's what buyers, probably the top 3 questions they ask us or ask me. So to answer that question, I think everybody should be concerned when they're making one of their biggest purchases ever. They want to do their homework and be dialed in with numbers. But on the flip side of that, we have to dive in, or I would say as a professional, I dive in and ask them, let's list your priorities. Using, for example, if they're still living at mom's or they're comfortable where they are, it might be a good time to stay there, save up more money. Don't, for lack of a better word, compete with a very low inventory. Everybody knows that last bottle of ice water in the desert is going to go for a lot more than it would than if you were at the supermarket.
It's pretty funny.
So that's on that side of it. And just to kind of dial it in quick, but on the flip side, if you're thinking about, you're in a rental now, or you're thinking about renting, those numbers, and there's nothing wrong with stabilizing your income with renting first or learning the area, but you're going to pay an extreme price. And if you take that monthly rent rate times 1 or 2 years, that usually counteracts or the balance of what you may have hypothetically overpaid. There's no, and I say this way, Erik, and I'll kind of stop babbling. But the point of overpaying is really, if it makes you happy and life is short and it's going to be less than your rent would be, or you're not living in the basement of mom's house anymore, then
great point.
It's a solid move for you to make. If you're trying to, buy it to sell it in 12 months or 24 months, probably not. But if the average person stays 5 to 7 years in their house, it's always a better to own and start getting that sense of responsibility and gain equity that way.
I mean, even if your rent is the same as your mortgage payment, even if it's 20% more than your current rent payment, you're still ahead, because every payment that you make, a percentage of that goes off of what you owe, which is money that you will eventually get back when you sell, if you sell at the right time.
Right. And not so much to plug even deeper, but I mean, if you wanted a roommate, you could. If you wanted a pet, you could. If you wanted to alter structural stuff
Oh, that's a
within
great point.
limitations, you could. And what the biggest thing is, and nothing against landlords or property managers, I'm an equal opportunity, real estate helper, but you never know with this market when a landlord or property manager has decided to sell the property. And although you have to or should obtain by the lease for the tenant or the landlord, when it comes up, the negotiations are kind of hard pressed one way or the other. If the landlord wants to sell, you're moving out.
So what you're saying is it just depends on how much you love your freedom, right?
I would say so.
You know what? That's a great answer. I'm going to give you a tiny mic drop. You get a tiny mic drop for that.
Thank you. They're all appreciated.
It's a new segment I've got called Tiny Mic Drop.
Well, I thank you. I'll take them all.
Okay. So it's two hard questions and a softball question. You've survived the two hard questions. Bravo, sir. Here's the softball question.
Okay.
Is anybody who owned a house or bought a house at the top of the tippy top of the market the last time it was in 2008? If you bought a house in 2008 at the tippy top of the market and you held on to it until right now, are you underwater?
No.
Are you sure about that?
I don't typically like to second guess what I'm thinking, but based on the fact that I've been here that long and I see it, and again, I know a lot of things go into that, Eric, if they did this or did that, put a pool in, whatever, but if they bought X house during that time frame and paid Y dollars for it, now I am unequivocally sure that they are even or up, again, minusing what they may have had. Again, I don't know if they put in new countertops.
If they didn't add Z to their mortgage, right?
Correct. Thank you. Thank you for covering me professionally. But yes, apples to apples, they are.
Yes.
Yes.
So and I know that is true. And if anybody's thinking about whether or not you're going to buy now, it's the top of the market, I'm going to buy, I would suggest two things. The first, three actually, because Shawn made this amazing point. And that's the first one. Do you want to keep living with your parents? Right? Okay. That's powerful. That's powerful. Don't forget. Right. Okay.
I love it. Thank you.
And then number two is going to be everybody that bought at the worst time imaginable previously, all of them, if you held on to it, made money and lots of money. You can take any house, almost any house on Zillow. You can price it out right now on their crappy Zillow pricing, and then you look at 2008 and that house is not worth more than it is right now. There's not a single house on that entire system, I would guess, that's worth more in 2008 at the last height of the market than it is right now.
Agreed, Eric. And, another little caveat to that is, whether you did or didn't make money, let's just say you're at a break even from 2008 till current 2021, where we are now, you had a roof over your head. Mm-hmm. You were safe. The mortgage at that time, I guess what you qualified for it. So you accepted that mortgage. And if you were to rent a property from 2008 till now, I guarantee you that you would be paying more in rent than you would for owning your property. So even if all these years later you're at a break even, you're really not at a loss financially because of what you may have what may have been your cost for not owning that property at that time.
Yeah, another great point. So let's say that you're the world's worst buyer. You buy at the exact worst possible time and you pay as much as possible in 2008. If you didn't add Z costs to it, if you didn't increase your Z loan with Z costs, you're still ahead. You're still way, way ahead. Plus, what you were saying too is so smart. Imagine you're still making a principal payment, right? No matter what, on top of the rental costs, on top of all those, you're still making a principal reduction payment and you owe less. And if you sold now, you could make money. Or you could stay in it or whatever. And if you put a renter in there, which is what I know a lot of people did that they went upside down. They put a renter in there.
Yep.
Right. and they just played even Steven, and a lot of them did very, very well. So to me, I feel like it circles back to what your original point is. Financially and numerically, it doesn't matter if it's the top of the market right now. What matters is, how will the impact of buying a house right now improve your life? Will it make your life better?
100%, Eric. And as the subject of, talking about relocations, if people were to buy a house earlier and rent it out, or now when they lived, let's say they're still back east and they bought a house in 2008, and all these years later, they've rented it, they've made money that way. And the house has appreciated. They paid down the principal, assumingly the rents have increased, assumingly they're in a great shape. If they moved out here, like you said, the worst of the worst time, 2008, now they're in a great position. But all the while, in my humble opinion, real estate aside, if they've been sitting poolside or just enjoying the backyards of not having to cut landscaping or et cetera, their value of life, there is no price tag for that, has increased because they're just living maybe an easier life per se.
Mm-hmm. Great points, mister. Absolutely great points. Okay, last thing. You're you probably don't even want to talk about this, but you're the master of Zillow. Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at the Zillow master. And what's funny is, not only is he the master of Zillow in real estate, but Zillow master is also his Dungeons and Dragons name. I don't know.
Level 3 wizard.
Zillow powers. Like, oh no. That's like the Zillow power is like your food bag disappears, and then they hand you back your own food bag. That's the Zillow power. Like, oh, you're feeding me my own food by the power of Zillow. Anyway, sorry. You probably can't say anything mean about Zillow. I'll have to cut that out, but whatever. Anyway, tell me about your experience with Zillow. You really do have unparalleled experience, all joking aside. You were in on that thing very early. My question is not so much about Zillow, but how did you spot that was going to be a thing? And why did you decide, you know what, I'm going to invest my time, energy, and effort into this, and I think it's going to work out? What was it about it at the time that made you make that decision?
Great question, Eric. And I just kind of go backwards real quick to go forwards. And first off, one of the best things I like about podcasts, especially yours or videos, is sometimes the answers aren't what everybody wants to hear. And popular demand or unpopular demand says this, tying this into the Zillow question. Zillow, in my humble opinion, again, was a necessary evil. I won't go into how they were born. It's public knowledge on how they were created. They had permission to move forward as a company to provide information in real estate to the general public. And if I had to, again, narrow it down to two simple words of what Zillow is, it would be customer service. There was a point where it wasn't very, and I don't want to all date myself all the way back, but we used to have to print out every house and then drive over to someone's house and go over, the properties and what they look like. Zillow made it, for lack of a better term, convenient to shop for houses online. Now, fast forward to technology, there's other companies that are like that. But at that point, to answer your question, I saw that as, for lack of a better word, a conduit that Zillow at that time, and up until maybe not that far backwards, Eric, Zillow really wasn't in the per se game of what they are in now. They grew, we grew. You have to, much like a chameleon, adapt to your surroundings to survive. So between then and now, I just saw it as a good way to help people look for properties, always with the underlying tone, explanation point, bold print, that I was their agent that would help them obtain the keys to their dream home. But if they were using a service that would help them, help me get that common goal accomplished, it was Zillow. So I started, I don't want to say it the wrong way or the right way. I always believed, Eric, that reviews are important, whether it was Zillow, where they were common there, or now Google reviews. Everything has everything has moved into a way that, numbers account for a lot of things. So I hope I'm answering your question by saying, I started with Zillow because it had a platform of helping clients, which is always my first priority.
And it made it easier, apparently.
And it made it easier. And if you have that perfect, mixture, it creates a perfect, chocolate cake, if that's your fancy. Fast forward now, you just have to understand that, they're trying to grow in a way that they see profitable for them. And if you don't move with the times, Erik, and I'll say it quickly, and I mean that, there was a time where the fax machine was going to put me out of business. The pager was going to put me out of business. The internet was going to put agents out of business. But ultimately, if you provide solid customer service, like I know you do for, your clients and we do for our clients, and you take care of them and you have a general interest, that's not anything you have to sell.
Shawn Rogers, you smashed it, mister. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Smashed it. Thank you for coming on Beyond the Baseboards. Appreciate
You're more than
your
welcome.
time. That's easily the best Zillow answer I've ever gotten. And of course that would make sense because, you have tons of experience there. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being awesome. Not a lot of people can pull that color off, but you did it. Especially, I think you hit it behind the biceps. You crushing it today.
Thank you.
And good.
I think the camera added a couple pounds, but I mean, you can't, it is what it is, Erik.
Apparently it's doing it for both of our cameras. I look like a chunky mess. Look at my mess. Look at that.
You look good. Living the dream.
Look at your hair though. Your hair is killing it. Look at my hair. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Just
anyway, we're just a couple of handsome dudes on the podcast. It's no big deal.
Sir. And I wanted to thank you again for having us. I wanted to thank you again for having me on the show. I appreciate it. It's I know it's a labor of love, and I appreciate you helping our industry. And ultimately, it's a one big, help me, help you, help people obtain the American dream of home ownership.
Drop it the comment, like it, and subscribe. Blah, blah, blah. Thee knowest thy drilleth. Whoa.